at a slower pace. You just know how to push, 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 and push. Well, that's because I didn't have any boundaries set around me, and I didn't know what was healthy and unhealthy. It was just go, go, go. When the gates are open and there are no fences, you got an open field and just don't know when to stop. So setting boundaries is also a form of self-respect. When you establish limits, you are protecting your own emotional and mental health. I am so glad you're here today because we're diving into a topic just for you, mama, that I know can be challenging for a lot of us mamas, and that's creating healthy boundaries for ourselves. Now, as moms, especially those of us raising tweens or even teenage daughters or even teenage sons, it's easy to pour so much of ourselves into our kids and our families and everything around us. Believe me, I'm raising my hand right now saying yes, yes, and yes. But sometimes we forget one very important person in the equation, and that's you. You, mama. Today we're going to talk about how to create healthy boundaries for you, how that benefits you and your family, and I'm going to give you some practical tips on how to make those boundaries stick. So hang tight. If you are frustrated with how to get your teenage daughter to open up to you because all you want is to connect with her as you once did, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Jeannie Baldomero, a former rebellious teen, now mom of 3 young adults, educator, and the mom mentor, equipping you to create open communication with your girl so she can come to you about anything, even if she's scared. So grab your oat milk latte, breathe, and let's do this together. Hey mama, this is my invitation to you. Join me in the Talk to Your Teen Girl framework. It's a 6-week course that will get you started in creating a space for your teen to feel safe and respond in a way where your teen girl will feel heard and understood. You are building trust so you can get what you want most from your daughter, and that is to come to you about anything, even if she's scared. So head on now to talktoyourteengirl.com. That's talktoyourteengirl.com. Today is going to be a funny day. If you can hear some background noise, and I'm going to try my best to take it out of my sound, it's pouring rain. Yes, it does pour rain in Southern California. That song, It Never Rains in Southern California. Okay, I just sang to you. How many of you know that 90s song that brings you back? But it is raining. It's springtime, and yes, we have the bipolar weather here. So if you hear it in the background, you'll know what it is. So I've shared before, I grew up where saying no was not an option. I simply had to obey, no questions asked. I didn't get an explanation. I was expected to say yes and comply. Although this made for a very obedient child, at least on the surface level, it robbed me of creating the healthy boundaries that I really needed as I grew into an adult. As a teen, I literally bulldozed over boundaries that my parents tried to place on me and over others who tried to place theirs on me, which damaged relationships in the process. I didn't know, 1, what were boundaries, and 2, how to respect them because I didn't have any for myself that were healthy. And as a woman, I was still learning what boundaries were in my marriage and as a mom. I really struggled with my priorities and keeping them because they were all A-L-L, capital A-L-L, important. And I've soon found I carried other people's priorities too. I had to learn when to say no. And that meant creating healthy boundaries for my own sanity and for my relationships with others. So it's going to be okay, mama. So let's start by answering this big question. What exactly are boundaries? Because I literally had that question for myself. What are boundaries? Boundaries are simply the limits we set ourselves for ourselves, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, about what we will or will not tolerate from others. Now think of boundaries like a fence around your emotional yard. The nice white picket fence around you and your emotions, right? That fence keeps the bad stuff out and protects the good stuff inside. It might sound like something we should just know how to do, but really setting boundaries is a learned skill. And it's something that many of us struggle with, maybe because you're like me and never were taught about healthy boundaries and creating them. Well, And it's hard to do that, especially when it comes to the people we love. Why would we put a fence around them, right? It doesn't make any sense. Well, I don't want you to confuse the fence of boundaries versus putting a wall up and stonewalling people. Those are two different things. I'm not asking you to build a wall. I'm just asking you to build a fence, right? You could still see through the fence, but there are some things that are just not going to touch you, and it's a healthy thing. It's common really to think that boundaries are selfish or they'll push away people. But really the truth, mama, is that healthy boundaries actually improve relationships. When we set clear boundaries, we're telling others and ourselves how we want to be treated, right? If we never tell people how we want to be treated, doesn't that cause resentment and bitterness over time? And then we start to say, well, you should just know. Well, we weren't being clear about it, right? So we need to set some clear boundaries. We're teaching the people around us how to respect our time, our energy, and our emotions. When we don't set boundaries, we're left feeling drained, resentful, and overwhelmed. Can I get an amen here? And guess what? Our kids are going to pick up on that. They'll see our emotional exhaustion and think it's normal to push past it. Just push us past our limits and just not know when to stop. You know, when I was seeing my therapist, and I likely shared this before because it was an aha moment for me. She says, you're addicted to intensity. And I was like, what? Intensity? She's like, you just don't know what it's like to just be calm, to be in the stillness, to be at a slower pace. You just know how to push, 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 and push. Well, that's because I didn't have any boundaries set around me. And I didn't know what was healthy and unhealthy. It was just go, go, go. When the gates are open and there are no fences, you got an open field and just don't know when to stop. So setting boundaries is also a form of self-respect. When you establish limits, you are protecting your own emotional and mental health. You're really protecting yourself, which helps you show up better as a mom, as a wife, and a person overall. So, what do healthy boundaries actually look like? I'm going to give you some examples. Saying no without guilt. It's okay to say no to things that drain you or don't align with your values. Maybe it's saying no to extra commitments at work, or maybe social events. Okay, I know, YOLO or FOMO or whatever the acronym is. But being okay with saying no, even if it sounds like a great idea, you know yourself. Maybe it's just going to be the tipping point of having to show up. It takes a lot of energy to show up, believe me. And you just need some time for yourself. It's okay to say no. Or even requests from your kids. Yes, dare you say no to your kids because the mom guilt is high, right? It's real, but it's okay to say no to your kids and they'll respect those boundaries. You don't have to explain yourself to death either. A simple, I'm not able to do that. I'm just not able to do that is enough. Second, example of a healthy boundary is protecting your time. Time is a commodity that is precious. You can never get it back. You might need to set boundaries around that. For example, scheduling a quiet hour each day for yourself. Literally, as I was recording, I just told my husband, like, hey, after this, I'm going to need some quiet time. So he literally took my parents out so that I can have some quiet time to myself, just for my own sanity. I just need to decompress before engaging with other people. So when that time comes, it's not up for a negotiation. You have the right to spend it however you want and however you see fit, whether it's reading, taking a walk, or just sitting there. It's your time. And number 3, emotional boundaries. Sometimes our kids and other people in our lives, and you probably can identify them, can be extra draining in your life. And they might lean on us a little heavily than others for emotional support. And while it's natural to want to help, we also need to protect ourselves from emotional burnout. Are we allowing them to deplete us, right? It's okay to say, I'm here for you, but I need to take care of myself first before I can help you. right? An example is when you have a list of things that you need to do for yourself that you've been putting away for a whole week, right? And you finally have the 2 hour time span to be able to do your to-do list. And all of a sudden, for example, your mom calls out of the blue and asks you to do this, this, and this. And it's not as important, right? I mean, obviously things are important to everyone, right? To each their own. It's very subjective, but it's not an emergency. It is okay to say, I have to get this done first, right? Because the emotions of having to do this for someone else can cause some resentment. And even, friends that just dump their emotions on you and you don't have the capacity to sit there in that space, that is okay. It's okay. It's okay not to have the capacity at that time, and being okay with expressing that, but offering a different time when you are. And number 4, physical boundaries. This could mean asking for personal space, right? Like your daughter wants personal space. She's pretty good at doing that. Maybe your daughter loves to hang out in your room, right? That's a dream. But you need space for yourself. It's perfectly fine to say, hey, do you mind if you give me some alone time right now? Mama just needs to decompress. Gosh, what a great example you are making for her, that she can be okay when she wants her own time too. And she doesn't have to feel like she has to fill all her time being with someone else. Now, let's talk about 3 practical tips for creating boundaries that are personal to you. It's important to remember that your boundaries might look different from others. It's not going to all look the same because we all have different needs. We're all created uniquely. And what is a need for one may not be a need for another. And that's totally okay. But here are my tips just to consider as you are creating your personal boundaries. Start small and be clear with yourself. If you're a journaler like me, you might want to do that too. Or I have friends who like to voice journal, which they speak into their voice memo and they just record what they're thinking. If you've never set boundaries before, start with one small area where you need it most. Maybe that's carving out 15-minute break each day or not answering work emails after a certain time. The key is to know what you need and set clear, that's key, limits around it. The second is communicate your boundaries calmly and confidently, not arrogantly or resentfully or like you should know better and I'm protecting myself. No, calmly and confidently, as a matter of fact. It can feel awkward at first, especially if you're not used to saying no or protecting your time, but you don't need to apologize for it. Nope, no apologies needed because that entails regret, and there is no regret in creating healthy boundaries for yourself. Now, if your daughter asks for something during your me time, for example, say, hey, I need this time for myself, but we can talk later. Just keep it simple and assertive. And the third tip is be consistent and kind to yourself. Consistency is key when it comes to boundaries. You got to be consistent with it, right? People are going to test it. They're probably even going to forget about it, but you just got to be consistent. It might take a little time for your family to adjust, but just be patient. Also, be gentle with yourself. If you slip up and don't uphold a boundary, don't beat yourself up about it. Just reset and keep going, right? It's a work in progress. Isn't life a journey anyway? It's always a work in progress. We're always growing. We're always aiming to get better. Now that we've talked about how to create boundaries, let's take a quick moment to talk about the incredible benefits. Okay, so you're probably thinking, okay, why boundaries? Here's how to create it. Here's some examples. But what are the benefits for having boundaries for yourself? Well, it's less stress and overwhelm. So if you've been feeling stressed and overwhelmed by all the things that motherhood, wifehood, and daughterhood and just life has brought you, setting boundaries helps you manage your time and your emotional energy. And that reduces burnout. You do not have to do all the things. It also gives you healthier relationships. When you take care of yourself, you're more present for your family and less likely to feel resentful. You're going to want to be with them because you feel energized. You feel emotionally protected by these boundaries, and you are more present and probably more pleasant to be around with your family, right? The third benefit is greater self-respect. And this is a big one, mama, because a lot of times, we pour out, and we don't look at ourselves. We put ourselves last. And there is a sense of a lack of respect for ourselves, right? Because we put ourselves last. So by honoring your own needs, you teach your family to respect your boundaries too. I want you to remember boundaries, again, are not walls. They're simply guidelines that create healthy space for you and the ones you love. They understand that mom cannot be everything and all everything because you're human too. So, mama, I hope today's episode has helped you understand why creating boundaries and how to start setting them in your life is so important for your relationships and for yourself, most importantly. I know it can get uncomfortable at first, but trust me, I'm a work in progress too. It's worth it. Not only will you feel more energized and in control, you're going to empower yourself to really have those relationships become stronger, and you're modeling it for your daughter as well. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. I want you to also leave a review. I really do want to hear, especially if you've been listening for a while, I want to hear what you think of Raising Her Confidently, and share it also with a fellow mama who could use this. I want you to know you're not alone in this journey. We are here together doing this. I'm here to support you, to encourage you, and to also preserve who you are as a mama so that you can show up the way you want to show up in your relationship with your teenage daughter. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve it. Hey friend, if this podcast inspired you or encouraged you or helped you in any way, I'd love for you to share it. You can screenshot this episode and share it in your stories on social media, or text it to a friend who can use the support. It's the best way you can thank me. I want to let other mamas know they are not alone. I'd love to stay connected with you. You can find me at raisingherconfidently.com. Until next time, live full of grace, Jeannie.